broadband.
Oh dear.
But I can see it, thanks.
In
It's
fact,
okay, I can see now, thank you.
okay, cool. Right. So we're going to walk through the EBUS referral and booking part of the process. So actually, in fact, I've got all the attendees. I got them as you came on the call. Carol from Infoflex is on the call. Sarah and Alex aren't, so that's almost completely wrong. Right. As a quick sort of review, this is where we are with the project, with the EBUS processes. Referral and booking is what we're looking at this morning. So that has been through the first design cycle, which is the sort of very first look at the flow and the process of how this all has to work and the data that goes in. The other two sort of parts of the same thing, appointment management is still in the middle of design cycle 1 and reporting is going to come after the others. So this handover, as you can see on the second row there, is part of the start of the second design cycle. And after all these sessions are finished, at the end of the week, I'll send out access details, and you can log into the system on our servers and have a play, and then your feedback from that will feed into the updates as part of this design cycle. So that's really important. This is what we're hoping to come out of today with. A high-level understanding of the process. You won't have to know all the ins and outs, but you'll get to know them very quickly once you start playing next week. And those are the three things we're able to do: get on, navigate around, and provide some feedback on what needs to change. Right, so that's it. So here we go. So nope, wrong one. There we are. First of all, do let me know if I talk too fast, because with in this kind of slightly strange online thing, I know I tend to do that. And Ellie and Carol will jump in if I go wrong. Also, I can't see hands raised, so if you have a question, just shout out. So the login screen is pretty straightforward. When you log in, you get to this front page, which is a kind of dashboard. And this is something we'll come back to at the end, because all of these lists and links will make more sense once we've had a look at the process that a booking goes through. So I'll do that at the end rather than the beginning. Up here, there's guidelines, the start of guidelines. So there will be EUS here as well, and the EBUS guidelines aren't yet complete, but they're there for your processes. So there's a sort of an overview here of the referral and booking appointment of what we're looking at today, and a brief look at the dashboard. Then the referrers here are the grey stripe, the test providers are the blue stripe. So we're looking at this bit. And you can click on these to get to each process. So the referral process, then you can click on each of these to get to each individual screen or part of the process. I'm going to keep this open and sort of flick back to it to see where we are within each process. So I've got that here. So I'm going to go to referral there, and we'll flick that there in a second. Right. Yes. So if we go back to home here now, to start a referral, there's several ways to sort of get started. There's several ways in. We could go in via some work lists, and I'll look at those at the end. But for now, I'm just going to create a new referral here. You'll see that I'm logged in as the user system, who is sort of in the database as being in MRI. So several things are defaulted to MRI here, as you'll see. So if I click new referral, then I need to either search for a patient or create a new patient. I'm not going to create a new patient now, but I'll show you what happens. You click on register, and these are the demographic details. There's an ongoing discussion about how this is going to work in the pilot, because there isn't a full interface. There are no full interfaces in the pilot with other systems. So this won't be sort of a view into the demographics. So we are looking at something like a regular import of patient demographics into the database, so that you won't need to do this, so that patients will be there already, which would obviously be better because there's less typing in this stuff and less room for error. But that's up in the air at the moment. So for now, you can type in a patient's details here, GP and next of kin. But as I say, I'm not going to do that for now. So to search for a patient, this is our standard search bar panel. You can search on some or any of these things, sort of NHS number, hospital number, and name. Normally on a live system, you can't just click search with all these empty, because that would, generate a huge query. But on this, there's only a few patients, so we can. So I click search, and then there's 10 patients, 10 test patients in the system now, and so they all come up. In fact, I think as with other searches, if the search brings back more than 100, you just get 100 at a time, I think. So we're going to look at Tommy test 1. So I clicked on him. I should have said that slightly more deliberately. I clicked on his row in the search results, and then it brings up his page, his details. So at the top here, whenever we're in the context of this patient, his details are at the top, so that to sort of reduce the risk of typing in details to the wrong patient. So that should be up there the whole time we're talking about Tommy. He's got one booked appointment, so we're not going to look at that now, but we'll see how another appointment gets there. So for a new referral, there's a button here. Oh, I'm not doing what I said I would, and clicking through here. So the referral process, we've searched for a patient. There we are. There's the screens that we've just seen. Now we've come to this. See that patient's identifiers and booked appointments. So now we're going to create an EBUS referral. Now there are 4 screens with the data that needs to go in. We're not booking anything yet. This is just creating the referral. So the first screen is, you'll see this is defaulted. I can't change that. It's defaulted to Manchester Royal Infirmary because my user system is in the user group. It is defined in the database as being at this hospital. First language defaults to English, but there's lots of others. And with these 4 screens, you'll see that next, I can't click next yet because the mandatory fields aren't filled in. So on this screen, they're all mandatory. On other screens, they aren't. But we need to, even if interpreter needed, even if that's a no, I actually have to click that twice to put a cross in it. I can't just leave it blank. So I put in some values for those. And once the last value, you see that's blank now, that is disabled. Once the last value goes in, I can click next. So the second screen, you can see previous is enabled, so I can go back, but I can't go forward again because the mandatory fields aren't there. The PET-CT scan, this is important as regards the system, the process, because it can affect the date that you can have the EBUS test on. So we're going to say it is required, and then this is the key thing here. If it's required, then you have to have a date before you can book the EBUS test. So we're going to say we requested it today. With any calendar field, you can click the calendar icon, or you can put in T. If you just type T, then today's date comes up. For now, I'm going to say we've requested one, but we haven't got one yet. And we'll see how that effects that has later on. Indications, so with any field that you can only have one value for, you get a pull down like that. That's yes or no, you can't have both. For any field with this icon, it means you can pick multiple values. So there's 5 values here, and you can pick any of them you like, or all. But there's a star, so you have to pick at least one. If one of the ones you pick is other, then you get this extra if other field comes in. So you can, if you've picked other there, then you can type in the details of other here. There's more free text here, but that is not mandatory. So next is available here. Does that make sense so far? Am I is it clear what I'm talking about?
Yes, yes.
Okay, excellent. Right, so the third of these screens is largely mandatory. So if we fill these in, performance status, there are these 5 values and unknown. Clinical frailty score, you can click this button here and you get a sort of reference table. Let me just make a quick note there. A sort of pop-up table. Okay, and these, well, you don't have to put these in. These spinners here, this is the final thing I think on these. You can sort of move values up and down, or you can type them in. So the fourth screen, this is the final one in the referral part. I've again forgotten to flick these. They're sort of one after the other here. So we've entered PET CT information. Further patient details is the last one we just did. Now anticoagulation is this one. Now the save button is enabled, but I think it won't let me save. Yeah. So no value has been specified. A value must be entered for all these different things. Again, this is multiple select, and this is anticoagulation is important. Like the PET CT scan, it does affect the dates later. So warfarin requires 5 days. You have to be off it for 5 days before the EBUS. So that means the earliest. Today's the 15th. Is that right? I think so. Yes, 15th. So the earliest date we can have the test is the 20th. If we know that's going to stop later, so if we know it's going to stop tomorrow, then that gets pushed out to the 21st, and so on. And these different items here need different times. So if it's the greater of, so if we pick 5 and 7 days, then it'll say 7 days, 22nd. Again, that's multiple choice. Now there are leaflets here. So I believe that you will either sometimes or always have the patient with you when you're going through this process. So these 2 leaflets, EBUS and bronchoscopy leaflet, you can click and open here and print these or not, and whether you've given them to the patient. And then we'll see these later on. There's another opportunity later if the test provider wants to give them to the patient. I think that's that for that part. Does that make sense? Everything good? I'm hoping that's yes. So if we click save, then the referral is now saved. Here, save referral, we've done that. We go to the schedule referral page. So this is the end of the referral process. So back to the main page, we're now into the triage and booking appointment. So this is a slightly more involved screen. I think we're going to clear this up a bit when a couple of questions have been sorted out around it. The booking status is pending, so we haven't got a booking yet. We've just got a referral at the moment. The referral is visible here. There's the schedule appointment. This is the schedule appointment tab. There's an EBUS referral tab, and this has got all of the information we've entered so far. You can't change it, but you can see it all. We don't have, now, as I said before, the PET CT scan, yes, we need one. We've got a requested date, but we've got no date when it's happening. And so because there's no date for that, we can't book a test yet. We have to know when that's happening. And then there's also this date from the anticoagulant protocol that is 5 days. The patient needs to be off that for 5 days. So if I put the CT scan in after that, so the 21st, say, now it's sort of calculated that the earliest, the EBUS can be is the day after the PET CT scan. So that's now the 22nd. If I were to say this is going to happen tomorrow, then this is then the later date of those two. So that's the earliest it can happen, is the 20th. Does that make sense? Once we've got this earliest date, okay, so now that's the 20th is the earliest date we can apply for. I don't know if you saw that when I put that in, that button appeared. It's disappeared again. So if I put a date in for the PET CT scan, now this search for appointments appeared over here. The 20th is the earliest date. Now if we click that, it brings up this search window. So there's lots of ways you can search for appointments. You can just click search and see absolutely everything. The idea is that this can be sort of whatever combination is needed of the patient preference, your preference, distance. The patient has to travel. You might just want the earliest one across, the region that you can get. So you can fill in. We haven't got most of these filled in for the test details, so I'll select Wythenshawe because I know there's lots in Wythenshawe. And suppose it is morning appointment. And then click search, and this is also said because of this here. Although we didn't specify it, it's only going for the 20th and later because there's no point giving us anything before that anticoagulant protocol. So you can choose these however you like. Let's choose one. Now, that status has changed to booked. This booking confirmed has appeared here. And also this earliest COVID test date has appeared. Any questions so far? Now, because that's a sort of a convenient place to ask.
No, that's okay from me.
Okay. Now, the COVID area, there is a bit of discussion around. So some of this, it will be the same when you get to play with this next week, I think, but it may change in the coming days and weeks. Currently, the date of test must be within 72 hours of the EBUS test. So, if you have a test today, it's not sufficiently certain that you're clear by the 20th. So that's the earliest date you can have, and there's some debate, and different hospitals have different numbers of days there, so that may change. Also, if this isn't implemented at the moment, but if the test is too close to the EBUS test, then the COVID test the results won't come back in time. So if that was the 19th, okay, I'll do that in a second. Oh, and yes, so there's two other things to say about that. One is here, there will be a field to say, are the referrers sorting out the COVID test for this patient, or are the EBUS test providers sorting it out? So it may be that you don't really worry about this. The other thing that is, if this is in the future, suppose this is in the middle of November, you couldn't possibly know what's going to happen in the 3 days previous to that, so there's no, it wouldn't even be relevant to think about the COVID test yet. That will have to be thought about much later. So quite often you just won't worry about this at the time. For now, I'll just show you what happens. So we'll pretend everything's nice and simple and black and white. So that's the earliest date, 17th, because it's 3 days, 72 hours before the 20th, which is now booked. So we can plan for a date of, let's deliberately get it wrong and say the 16th, and then try and save this appointment. And that's no good because the planned date is too far from the EBUS test date. Now, if I say the 19th, that will accept it, but later when we've sorted out how the nuts and bolts of that rule, then it won't. You won't be able to say the 19th because there won't be time for the test results to come back. So it might be something like 48 hours, a maximum, a minimum of 48 hours, a maximum of 72, or some greater number of days. By the time that is finalised, it'll be made much clearer. And this date of test here are the same rules as for the planned date. So let's say we're booking it on the 18th, and we actually get it on the 18th as well. So that's all good. We can save that now. That's saved. And that is now booked. So you can see it says here, to select a new appointment time, you have to cancel it. Now, the test result itself, let's kind of fast forward a few days and say that it's a positive COVID test. Obviously, that creates a problem. So we get this warning down here. So the EBUS test, this is no good. We have to cancel and reschedule this because of the COVID result. So to do that, we need to, something I should add is that we're sort of joining up things that happen at different times here. And I'll see later from the dashboard, you'll see all of the positive COVID tests you can look at, and you can look at all of the patients waiting for approval or whatever. So, these things don't all happen in quite the lovely, clean, linear order that I'm showing you now. So positive COVID result for this patient. So we need to cancel the appointment and save it. And then, so there's now no appointment up here. There's no EBUS test anymore. The referral is obviously still here. It's still the same. And now we've got COVID test history down here. We've got the positive test with the 18th, which is the date we had here for it. We've also got the latest test result here. So we'll see in a minute when we've got several tests, we'll have them all down here and the latest one here. And this is still here because the latest COVID result is positive. So now if we go for a new COVID test, no, a new appointment first. So exactly the same rules as before. We've got the same dates here everywhere. So let's say it's a few days later. Let's just search for everything. Oh, here we are. Yeah, so 100 records match your search, and you just get the first 100 back. So a few days later, 26th. So now the earliest COVID date obviously is much later, 23rd. So let's say we got one then, 24th. And this time it's negative. Save that referral. So now, obviously that problem is removed. This appointment is still good. We've now got both COVID tests down here. The negative one, I think that's going to be the other way around, so that the most recent will be on the top. And the latest is here, the negative test on the 24th. So everything's good. And now the appointment's booked on the Infoflex system, and everything's ready. And for the second time, for about the fifth time, I've forgotten to go back to here. So this was stepping through the thing here. This is the scheduling appointment tab. So we've stepped through these, worked out the earliest date available, found the appointment, saved the booking. This help doesn't include COVID details at the moment, but it will. Everything all right so far? Does that all make sense? Okay.
Yes, thanks.
Cool. Right. Now, you as referrers won't have this appointment management tab. It's for the test providers, but I need to go in here to sort of get to the next stage with this appointment. So the various things around managing the appointments are done here. What has to happen now, this is a confirmed booking, but the patient hasn't confirmed it. And it's, no, sorry, it's not, it's a new booking. So this is the test provider. From their point of view, the booking has been this one, the bottom one here, Tommy test 1. The booking's been confirmed in the Infoflex system, but not on their local system in whichever hospital is doing the test. So they click on that, and this is a view of exactly the same things we saw before. And then this booking confirmed here is the booking confirmed in their system. So when that is a tick and saved, then that disappears from this list and appears in this list, confirmed bookings, patient not yet confirmed. So then the final step is to confirm it with the patient, which I presume will be the test provider will be doing that. Either way, it's another box here. Appointment confirmed with the patient. And then you see these two leaflets again that we saw before. I should have mentioned that earlier. And you get whether you provided them or not here. So you can change those as well. You've given them both to him now and save. So now he should have disappeared from that tape. Okay, he hasn't disappeared from that table. Unless this was another test because I've been doing several of them, obviously. Okay, appointment confirmed with patient. Okay, now he's gone. So that's completely confirmed and everything's ready to go. So the last things to look at, that's the whole of the process for entering and saving a referral and scheduling a test. The last few things to look at are different ways to find the patients. So there's work lists here. So there'll be more, there'll be EUS as well, but EBUS work list, you can see all of the patients awaiting PET scan. And when you click on them, you always get back to this screen. So you can see that's blank there. Back takes you back to the list. Awaiting scheduling, so the booking hasn't been scheduled at all for those patients. Waiting for confirmation, waiting for patient, so that's waiting for confirmation on the test providers systems. This is awaiting patient confirmation that the patient's been told about the test. Confirmed appointments, cancelled appointments. Anything else you need sort of to be in here, any other way you need to track, we can add. COVID, this will be bigger as well. There's tests to arrange. There'll also be failed tests, so you need to see which patients have failed them and, had positive tests, and needs to be cancelled or rearranged. Finally, the dashboard. This is slightly work in progress. So here, these are the same as those work lists we just saw. These take you to the same places, but it's got a kind of a handy total. You can see 21 failed appointments. That part of the process hasn't been defined fully, actually. Awaiting patient confirmation 3, click there and you get back to that same tab. And then back you can just click home. So those are the same. Here, you can see it's kind of a shot, a snapshot of how long how many referrals are waiting for how many days. This will be bigger. There'll be more COVID stuff here, more lists, test to arrange, also positive tests. Waiting times by provider. There'll be all the trusts here, obviously not just those two. There is one. There's an area of discussion here that I can't remember which meeting it came up in. So, Chris, you may have been on the call it came up in. That this possibly should include cytology weights, because if you have a short wait for the EBUS test, but then a long wait for cytology results, that's not necessarily the best. You know, that's not the that's not the best necessarily the best total wait. So it may be that we start measuring the time for cytology results to come back and then calculate the waiting times with those two together, something like that.
Yeah, that's basically that's the gist of it. Cytology turnaround time will be added in as well.
And the report, report results will be down here. That is the last of the three parts of this work stream of this process to be defined, as we said before. So that's not there yet, but that's where the reports will be. That's it for the walkthrough. Any other questions or comments? Otherwise, the next steps are yes, homework. So after these sessions, there's possibly one more session tomorrow, one more today, possibly one more tomorrow. I'll send out some details of how you can log in on our external server. We'll send out logins and everything like that. We'll give you some exercises to do where the point is just to go through each part of the referral and booking process so that you can sort of test if anything doesn't meet your needs or anything we need to tweak. Then the next design review, that will come with a deadline. The next design review will then include those comments and anything that needs to happen then. I suspect that's the last slide. Yep, that's the end.